he was someone.
I declare war. Rapper J. Cole has a song entitled False Prophets. It's one of the best rap songs that I've heard in a while. That song inspired me to do this video right here. Also, I saw a few videos about what it means to be pro-black. Those videos inspired me to do this video as well. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to respond to some criticism that I received while listening to a Google Hangout yesterday. I was listening to LA's Hangout, and I was also responding to a troll in his chat room. So I want to take time out at the very end of this video to address some of the points that were raised during that Hangout. So I'm going to warn you, if you worship public figures like Umar Johnson, Boyce Watkins, Tariq Nasheed, and Brother Polight, then you may not want to watch this video, because I'm going to call these people out. And when I call them out, that doesn't mean that I don't agree with the things that they say. They make valid points. I don't agree with everything that they say, but they do make valid points that I agree with. But I'm going to have to make it plain. And again, people are not going to like this. But when has that ever stopped me from speaking the truth? Those people that I mentioned are false prophets. And when I say that they are false prophets, I mean that they are not actually leaders. When I think of black leaders, I think of people who actually led organizations. I think of people who had political agendas. I think of people who have actually accomplished something. I think of people like Elijah Muhammad, a man who built an organization, the Nation of Islam, and built mosques and temples all around the country, built schools, built businesses. And not only that, this man, Elijah Muhammad, built men and women. He created leaders in our community. Leaders like Malcolm X, leaders like Farrakhan, leaders like Khalid Muhammad, leaders like Imam Wardeen Muhammad. Leaders. When I think of leaders, I think of people like Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. They created the Black Panther Party, an organization, a political organization, an organization that did not just talk, an organization that actually put in the work. When I think of leaders, I think of people like Kwame Ture. I think of people like Marcus Garvey, a man who built one of the largest organizations in American history, the UNIA, one of the largest Pan-African organizations in history. When I think of leaders, I think of people like Kwame Nkrumah, a man who would go on to be the president of Ghana, a man who would lead an actual Pan-African movement, political movement. That's what I think about leaders when I think of leaders. People who have actually led something, led a movement by example. I think of people who have sacrificed. People like Martin Luther King, a man who led an organization, a man who actually did things to improve the plight of our people. These people like Dr. Umar Johnson, Boyce Watkins, Brother Polight, and Tariq Nasheed, they are not leaders. They are not leaders in that same vein. Leaders sacrifice. Leaders actually lead something. In fact, one of these people, Tariq Nasheed, actually said that he doesn't want to be a leader. So take him at his word. I don't understand why people continue to view that man as being a leader when he has told you that he doesn't want to die for you, that he doesn't want to sacrifice for you, that he doesn't want to be a leader. Take him at his word. These people have no political agenda. No political agenda. No political organizations that they lead. And they have no measurable accomplishments outside of their personal accomplishments. What have they done to end police brutality? The Black Panther Party, the real Black Panther Party, they didn't talk about fighting police brutality. They were in the streets fighting police brutality. They were in the streets facing the police, gun to gun, bullet to bullet. Their word was their bond. They were men of action, not men of talk. They didn't talk about feeding the hungry. They actually set up breakfast programs to feed the people. What have these false prophets done to improve the schools in our community other than talk? One of them has talked about building a school, but that school is nowhere in sight. That school is nowhere in sight. There are plenty of people who have built independent African-centered schools around this country. It didn't take them this long to do so. It didn't take them to raise all these millions of dollars or whatever to do so. If this man, Dr. Umar Johnson, wanted to build a school, he could have had one built a long time ago. But what have these other people done to actually improve the schools that our children attend? What have they done to actually build schools? What have any of these people done to address the issue of mass incarceration in this country? What have they done? What have they done to end poverty in the Black community? These people have accomplished nothing when it comes to improving the plight of our community, the plight of Black people. Yet these people have the audacity to criticize legitimate civil rights organizations who have a history of measurable and tangible accomplishments. Those civil rights organizations can point to the cases that they have won. They can point to the settlements they have reached. They can point to the difference that they have made through protests and demonstration. They can talk about the legislation that they have passed. But what are the accomplishments of these false prophets? That's the question that I have for all these people that want to defend them. A documentary provides good information. Hidden Colors provides great information. But what has it done to improve our condition as a people? What has it done? Many of these people, these false prophets, they condemn integration. They condemn integration. They advocate separation from the white man. But yet these people have not separated from the white man. They have not done anything to separate from the white man. In fact, some of these people like Brother Polight, have moved away from the Black community, and they have moved to affluent white communities, living a life of comfort in their mansions, driving around in their Bentleys and Rolls Royces and other fancy cars. But yet they want to preach to you about separation while they live in Hollywood, people like Tariq Nasheed. They talk all this Black power stuff. They talk all this Black nationalism stuff. But when it comes to how they live their life, it's a completely different reality. it's a completely different story. These people condemn integration, yet they have not built any kind of independent institutions. These people condemn integration, but they have not purchased any separate land mass. They haven't created separate communities. They haven't built schools. They haven't built banks. They haven't built hospitals. They haven't set up grocery stores. They don't even have an army or a paramilitary to defend their interests, but yet they want to preach about how they're so opposed to integration when they have done nothing to separate, nothing at all. Often, many of these people condemn the black church, but the church has done more for black people than these black power advocates, than these false prophets. These churches have schools. These churches have an actual church, an actual building that they can go to. Where's the building for these other false prophets? Where are their buildings? What do they own as an organization? What schools, again, have they built? Yet these people have the nerve to criticize the church when they have built nothing tangible for the people to improve the plight of the people. And you need to measure leaders by what they have actually done. You can't be a black power advocate, a pro-black person, and still be a misogynist. And that's something that is pervasive among these false prophets. That's something that's pervasive. While they lecture black pride and black unity and all this and that, they disrespect the sisters by teaching Mac lessons, by glorifying the pimping lifestyle. The term Mac comes from the movie The Mac, a story about a pimp. You have this man, Tariq Nasheed, who glorifies the pimping lifestyle. Today, not yesterday, but today. You have this man, Tariq Nasheed, promoting his film Hidden Colors by using trashy ads featuring black women in bathing suits, engaging in sexual, suggestive behavior. But yet this man claims to love black people so much. And that brings me to another point that I'm going to go to after I deal with this point. You have this other guy, Brother Polight, who blasphemes, attacks religion, and then has the nerve to say that the black woman is God, but yet he has multiple wives. How's that treating a black woman like a quote-unquote God? How's that treating a black woman like a God when she is having to share one man with other women? That doesn't sound like a godlike status to me by any stretch of the imagination. That phrase, the black woman is God, is nothing but game. That's like when you gas somebody up, flatter them in order to get what you want from them. And that's what you have here with this black woman is God hustle. Again, that's another example of a false prophet. You have this brother, Dr. Umar Johnson, who talks about the mental health of our people, who deals with issues of dysfunction in our community. But yet this man participates in dysfunction by disrespecting a black woman. And you all know about that conscious stripper controversy. It's not about what people say. Anybody can say anything. It's about the example that they lead. That's what really matters. So now that I've dealt with the false prophets and why I call them false prophets, let me deal with something that came up in a hangout that I was watching yesterday, and it was LA's hangout. A troll left a comment saying that I'm a weak pro-black. They made this statement for two reasons. They said because I support voting and because I believe in God. These people do not understand what it means to be pro-black. They have a juvenile and elementary understanding of what it means to be pro-black. So in response to this troll's comment in the chat room, LA said something to the effect of, well, we think that he'll come along, referring to me, and he'll get better understanding and he'll abandon that religion and truly embrace being a pro-black person. And if I'm not mistaken, he said something about believing in the system and all that kind of stuff, and voting, and he'll come around and this and that. First of all, like, unlike you, I didn't just stumble into consciousness 4 years ago. I've been a part of this movement for our people for all of my adult life, all of my adult life, from my days at Howard University. Since then, I've been protesting and demonstrating and advocating and reading and studying the plight of our people, studying our history. So this is nothing new to me. I'm not one of these people who watched a couple of YouTube videos and think I know something. This is a part of, my background is something that's established in terms of my commitment to the people. Not only was I involved in the struggle as a college student, but even today, I've used my education to fight for my people. I'm a civil rights lawyer today. I don't talk about discrimination. I don't just simply sit around and talk about and complain about issues. I am directly involved in civil rights cases that are of importance to our people. So I'm not some person that doesn't fully understand the plight of our people. I'm not some person that's not conscious, that has so much progress to make to reach the point of having full consciousness. I'm not that person. You got me messed up if you think that I'm in that category. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. The second thing that I'll say is this. I think that it's ridiculous to equate the fact that somebody supports voting as a sign that they are not pro-black. Anybody that takes that position is somebody that doesn't understand what it means to be pro-black. They don't understand what it means to be pro-black. Because revolutionary organizations like the Black Panther Party, for instance, supported voting. They ran candidates on the federal level and the local level for office. Study it. Eldridge Cleaver ran for president, if I'm not mistaken. And Bobby Seale and Elaine Brown ran for office on a local level. So clearly, they believed in electoral politics, and no one in their right mind would question whether or not the Black Panther Party was a pro-black organization. You have the brother Amiri Baraka, the great poet, the great black leader. That brother advocated electoral politics. He held a gathering in the 70s of political figures, of activists, to establish a black political agenda. So obviously that brother believed in electoral politics. Obviously he knew the importance of the vote, and he knew the importance of having a political agenda. And anyone who understands anything about Amiri Baraka understands clearly and obviously he was quote unquote pro-black. And his son, Raz Baraka, continues that tradition today. He is a mayor in a major city, and that city is Newark, New Jersey. That's a good brother who is doing a lot of things for black people. A lot of things. Unlike these false prophets, this brother is actually doing things to improve the plight of our people. Brother Malcolm X understood the importance of voting. Anyone who has listened to his powerful speech entitled The Ballot or the Bullet, they understand that Malcolm X knew the importance of the vote. And then you have the example of Kwame Ture, who was formerly known as Stokely Carmichael. He understood the importance of the vote. He understood it very well. He fought so that black people in the South could have the right to vote, so that black people in the South could elect their own candidates. He fought for black people to have their own political party in the South, in a place where black people were denied political power. So you have all these examples of people who, beyond a shadow of a doubt, are pro-black, advocating voting rights, because they understand, they understood the importance of the vote. So this notion that advocating voting is somehow not pro-black is preposterous. There's nothing pro-black about not participating in the electoral process. That's not pro-black, that's pro-stupid. Because you can't affect change. You can't change the policies that affect your black life if you're not participating in the electoral process, if you're not participating in lobbying and financially supporting the candidates who support your interests. The next point that I want to go on to is this issue of religion. Somehow people have this ridiculous notion that somehow being an atheist is some kind of sign of being pro-black. That if you believe in God, somehow you're less pro-black. That's ridiculous. Because black people, African people, are spiritual people. We are a people that believe in God. We believed in God before we encountered the white man. We didn't need the white man to teach us about religion or to teach us about a higher being. We believed in God. Many of us, when we were captured and put in bondage, we believed in traditional religions in Africa, and many of us believed in Islam when we were brought to this country. There's a great book that I plan to read soon called Servants of Allah, about African slaves and their faith in Islam. So we are a spiritual people. Our faith in God is what got us through our oppression. It's what gave us hope when we were in bondage, when we were suffering the most oppressive forms of tyranny. Our faith in God is what got us through. Our faith in God motivated the civil rights workers to sacrifice everything, to face the police dogs, to face the water cannons, to face the batons, to face all that, to face the Klan. It's our faith that kept us going. It's our faith that kept us strong. So this notion that believing in God is somehow not pro-black is silly, especially when you look at the history of our people. When you look at a Nat Turner, a man who was inspired by religion, inspired by his belief in God to participate in a slave rebellion. No one in their right mind would say that Nat Turner was not pro-black. When you look at Brother Malcolm X, a brother who believed in God, a brother who is obviously pro-black. When you look at Marcus Garvey, a man who believed in God, a man who is seen as the father of modern day black nationalism. You can't tell me that believing in God is not pro-black when you have these distinguished black leaders who were inspired by faith, by their faith in God. When you look at an Adam Clayton Powell, a man inspired by God, inspired by his faith, a man who was a black power advocate, a man who was obviously pro-black. So this notion that not believing in God is somehow a sign of being pro-black is silly. This notion that believing in God is not pro-black is just ridiculous. Atheism wasn't something that was prominent in our community. Many of these atheists, many of the early atheists were white people. And all people are doing by adopting atheism is adopting another white ideology and philosophy. But yet you want to proclaim that that's some sign of being pro-black. Blasphemy is not pro-black. Disrespect of God and disrespect of the ancestors, nothing's pro-black about that.